And our belief is that public lands belong in public hands. Will you consider leasing all public lands for affordable housing instead of selling them? Because the developer-driven model has not solved affordable housing anywhere in the world.
Answer, please.
Thank you for the question. I know that Minister Duclos and the department at PSP is considering all options. There are existing legislative and policy guidelines that, from a governance perspective, guide all of the matters that you raised in your question.
Thank you. Mrs. Kusie, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, I'm sure you have seen the economic report out today. The economy shrunk by 1.1% in the third quarter. Our deficit is currently at $40.1 billion. Debt servicing is now at $46.5 billion, which is more than we spend on health, as pointed out by my leader. Minister, I said this to your predecessor when she came to committee previously. Fundamentally, inflation comes down to the Treasury Board because these rates are so high, this inflation so high is a result of government spending. All of the money from the government, Minister, goes through you. You are the one who signs the checks for the release of these funds. So given And you will note, Minister, that she is no longer in your chair, that you are there now. So I'm asking you, do you take personal responsibility for this terrible situation that we're in now with these record high inflation rates, record high interest rates, which we are now starting to see permeate throughout the economy? For example, with the TD announcement yesterday and the loss of thousands of jobs. And this is only the beginning of it, Minister. What is your response for the spending record of your government as President of the Treasury Board?
The Government of Canada is actually on a strong fiscal track, contrary to the implication in your question. We have a AAA credit rating, which is an objective evaluation of our fiscal situation. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio.
Minister,
in
you
the
say
G7,
lowest debt to GDP,
and
but it's disingenuous when the nominal states otherwise. $80,000 per U.S. citizen, only $50,000 here in Canada. So I think it's very disingenuous to say that. I'll lay out the facts for the $15 billion that you promised you would find by October 2nd, but didn't even make any announcement, report in doing so, and only $500 million, a paltry $500 million this year, which, by the way, is only 2.03% of the additional $24.6 billion of the new spending. Since the 2023 budget, the $500 million of savings are only 2.31% of the record high proposed authorities, professional and special services, which sits at $21.6 billion, and the $15.4 billion of cuts over the next 5 years is only 11.69% of the deficits from this fiscal year throughout the next 5 years, Minister. So with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Larry Brock. Thank you.
Minister, GC Strategies, a two-person consulting firm operating out of their basement, producing no product or IT services, received $44 million in 2 years. Of that, $11 million went to ArriveCan alone. GC Strategies under criminal investigation for theft, fraud, and forgery for the last 10 months has still been awarded contracts by CBSA, notwithstanding their suspension of contracting services to GC Strategies. Why has not the Treasury Department, your department, banned GC Strategies from all contracting from all government departments?
It's actually misleading to say that we are not finding the $15 billion over 5 years.
Please answer my question, please. Minister Anand, I asked you a question. You're responding to my colleague Stephanie Kusie's question.
Because I didn't have a chance to respond.
And I would like a response to my question. I have literally less than 1 minute. So please, out of respect, can you please answer my question?
The role of the Treasury Board is, as I mentioned, to ensure that the practices, procedures, and guidelines are in place for public servants and their managers to follow. That is why I implemented and released the guidelines on procurement strategies.
Question
so
is,
that
why
that
have
guides
you
the
not banned
functionaries.
GC strategies across the board? $11 million of taxpayer funds for doing nothing under criminal investigation. What does it take, Minister, for you to respect the taxpayer dollar?
I would like to reiterate that my role as Treasury Board President is to ensure that the policies and the practices and the procedures are in place from a governance perspective to make sure that there are responsible procurement practices in place in the public service. Within just 4.5 months since being appointed, I have taken some steps to ensure that this is the case by issuing the guidelines for procurement
That is our time,
of third
Minister.
parties, as well as
Perhaps,
undertaking
one
a
of your
spending
colleagues
review.
can
Thank you.
follow up.